Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is Clinton Hitman, your pilot and historian for the day, or for the hour, almost hour. This is the longest video I've made so far, but I just kept going on and on and on. I mean, look at that structure there. We're focusing on Fort Jefferson and how they made it. I mean, and how do they transport it? How do they get the bricks there? So we're gonna fly over. This is not Google Earth, this is the Microsoft Simulator. So we'll fly over, take a look for ourselves in real time or 1-to-1 ratio, and we'll get into it. And here is the fort. Look how far we are. I think we start, that would be the beginning of the keys, I believe. I mean, getting there. That's the direction, because if we're flying west, then east is where the Florida Keys would be. And way out here is this absolutely amazing fort. Like, we don't even build symmetric. I mean, we can. That was the Pentagon. We built the Pentagon. But, like, what do we need a fort out here for? What do we need a fort for out here? Like, a sailboat. If a cannon was gonna shoot at you, or if you got your little binoculars or your telescope, whatever they had, I forgot what they had back then. If someone's on the crow's nest up there looking and they see this brick thing, I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's go take a look. But then once I got close enough to see cannons, I'd say, hey, Captain, aye, Captain, let's stay away from the range of the cannons. And, like, let's just go around it. So what is that fort really for? If it can't protect shit, then why did they spend resources and time to go out there and build that? I mean, we're talking about a pretty long time ago. They say this was built. Like, the stuff that we were building back then was not looking like this. So you see how far out we are. I mean, like I said, a boat would just sail around it. So let's take a closer look and see how perfect it is. And what a shitty island to put it on. So how did they get the bricks there? What's the purpose? What's the real purpose? How how long did it take? All that stuff has pretty much just been fabricated, and we're about to get into the information. So I doing flyovers over big towns. I actually see forts like this pretty much in every single big town. There is some sort of fort like this, and sometimes not even in big towns. And I say forts because that's what they call them. They call them forts. They call them citadels. We did a Machu Picchu one a couple weeks ago, and they said that was a citadel. But what were they protecting on top of the mountain? And so, if this is also a fort or a citadel, what are they protecting out here in the ocean? I mean, are there like underwater UFOs? Probably. But maybe was there some sort of crazy, you know, machine on the inside at some point? But it just looks pretty awesome. And it's just absolutely mind blowing that something like that is built on something like that. I mean, the whole thing itself is like bigger than the whole island. Like if you were to put, I mean, like if you were to stack all those bricks, it would like probably be like 2 or 3 bricks high over the whole island if you were to stack them on the green part, like wherever it's stable. So back in the day, like we're talking about like the 1850s, how do we have civil engineers that, first of all, the Army Corps of Engineers wasn't definitely around at that time. I mean, maybe it was, I don't know, but there was probably like 5 people there. And so we came to Florida in the 1500s. Like, that's actually when Ponce de Leon found Florida. They actually say that, oh shit, I think they said the government, like the US government, made that. So they say Ponce de Leon came down to Florida, he found it and everything in 1550 something, or 1500s. And then the United States bought Florida. And so the first thing they did was put a star fort out there. Like, you, come on now, seriously. If you just bought a piece of land, is the first thing you're gonna do like build something that amazing and big out in the middle of nowhere? I mean, like, how many boats did we have back then that we could just dedicate to spend a whole day to go sail out? Because that's it nowadays. Look at how shallow that water is, and you know it's got to be pretty soft, right? I mean, there's no hard land there, there's not that much. And so, also, another thing I just noticed right now, like, how is that piece of land? Like, so we actually built out into the water, and it is completely even with what's on the land. So what's out in the water, we built out and made that half a hexagon out in the water. Look at all these bricks here. These are just natural arches. I mean, yeah, they got like the mortar and stuff in them, but look how perfect it is. These are all the six. Everything is just, there's 6 corridors, 2 levels, and everything's just absolutely perfect. And then they throw these things on there. So even if these are what they're there for, if this was there from the very beginning, don't they have a range? And they just like threw them up there. So like 3 there, probably another 3 on each. I don't know. But to me, this doesn't add up. This looks super fucking old. Like if this is like 1906 or 1808, this is a really early photo, and that already looked old. And so, oh yeah, there's a big pontoon there. So maybe they just had a sailboat and just brung a bunch of bricks over, right? Because that's what they were rolling with back then. They had to come from Miami, which is from the mainland, and they have to go out to those small specks way out to the left. I'll let you can read this or pause it. I think I have this extended far enough to where we can kind of go through this a little bit. 16 million bricks over 16 acres. That's pretty convenient. Construction in late December 1824 and early 25, about 5 years after Spain sold Florida, United States for $5 million. They inspected the Dry Tortugas. He said it wasn't good, but yet the government has said go ahead and do it. So first, they built a lighthouse, which does it look like that was first? to guide the ships there. They said they built that first. And I'm kind of just scrolling through this, so you can go on Wikipedia yourself if you're really interested. But it said, let's see here where it says, oh yeah, well, I did the math because after seeing all this, I did the math and it said, for me, 365 bricks every hour needs to be laid down. 365 bricks every hour, every single day in order to meet that. And here's just more BS that they say, like blah, blah, blah. It's just really frustrating that all this stuff that they say, they just granite spiral staircase. Oh my God, come on, seriously. I mean, they had Civil War prisoners. Oh yeah, so they had people that renovated, and then they were prisoners, and they kept them there, and they all died there. So everyone who they brought in to build it were prisoners, and they died there. Isn't that kind of weird? Like maybe what they did is they brought people there to help fix it, and they were like, "You're not leaving this island because you're gonna fucking tell someone that this shit was already there." So that's what I actually found and uncovered about all this. See, look at that. 56 prisoners remained, and there were soldiers too. Oh, yeah, there was like some outbreak of disease which wiped out a whole bunch. How convenient. So, you'll find later on, I do more research on how we actually, or how they would get bricks there. And, they used the railway a lot there, and they also used a lot of prisoners that were like I don't know, bad. Maybe they were gonna die in prison the whole time, and it's just convenient that they used prisoners to build these masterpieces that are just completely perfect, and then they all die. Like a whole bunch died making I'll show you a little later, but making railroads to get bricks down there. And I mean, this is definitely before OSHA. like, it's just pretty convenient to have prisoners or people that you can just dispose of, especially back then. I mean, you send their family like $1,000. That's like almost $1,000,000 now. They probably didn't even do that. Ruthless back then. All they did was lie. They came here from England, all the Freemasons, and they just picked what they wanted, and they took all the nice houses, and all the maniacs in government that were the leaders. They got the best houses, and we just have a big fire in 1906 everywhere, huh? It just wipes out all the other nice houses for the plebes. So all the government buildings are all these Tartarian structures, these badass, awesome brick structures that we can't even build now, and also the nice, awesome Tartarian homes for like the Vanderbilts. Have you seen those homes? The Vanderbilt homes? Oh my God, that's that one guy from CNN. That's his mama right there. That's their house, the Vanderbilts. I don't even know what his name is because YouTube would probably flag it. YouTube would probably flag me saying Vanderbilts. But it's true. Like these super rich elite royalties from England came over, and they just picked everything that was nice. Like this is government now. This is a government building. Oh, we came over here. We saw, we took. Ha 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 ha. You know who that was. So, take everything that you hear and don't see. I mean, take everything you hear with a grain of salt. And not everything you see is the truth as far as if it's writing. So you got to do research. You got to look at the real facts, and you got to do this stuff too. You got to look at the population and see if it adds up. So from 1830 to 1900, only, and then actually 1850, 87,000 were in all of Florida. And now we're looking at Monroe County. That's the Key West. In 1830, 517, and in 1820, either less or no one in Key West, the closest place to get bricks to that fort. Monroe, once again, this is the only county that year that went minus 780. That actually went minus anything. No other county went minus that year or ever actually. Well, I think there's a couple small that went negative, but that's a big number. And then over here, they have a completely different number. They have it at 1780 is the increase. Like they have a plus. That's so they had it minus the same time span the last one, and they have a plus 1780 here. So it's all messed up here. These are government records. And then Key West, the city itself, minus 966 through that times through 100 years, or whatever that is. What is that? Is that 1860 or 1800? Let's say 1800 went minus, and then Miami City only had 1600 people. Here's Key West. I mean, is that that's what that said. It says at that time it was 17,000 people there, and that looks like quite a lot. Could that be 17,000? I mean, let's say 100 in every little square. Maybe that's close. This is current day at 26,000. So it only jumped up by another 10,000, and it doesn't look that much bigger, but look at that. A fucking star fort. Oh, I'll be danged. If you... So what did they have another star fort for then? Because this was like the same except half. You know what I mean? Like that's a half hexagon and it looks almost exactly the same. And look, it's over here too. Way back then. It's like fully out. They built a bridge there. But you know the thing that's weird is this is full of water. Right? There's water all around it. But yet current day it's completely filled. So what did they do? Did they block what it's really capable of doing by doing that? Or are they trying to hide something or what? And so here's Google Earth. I just wanted to take a look at this dang star fort because I was already doing research on one star fort. And then the closest town, literally this is the tip of Key West. This is maybe there was some sort of energy source connecting the two places. And they just blocked it off with all that land. You know what I mean? Like, and there's more hexagon in that concrete or cement or whatever, you know, where that blue thing is at. So this is called Fort Zachary Taylor. Let's take a look. Oh, doesn't that look familiar? See? Fort Jefferson. Is that the same builders? This gotta be the same builders. And here's Zachary Taylor. It's the exact same builders. But they use different stuff. Or we just covered it up with other things because we obviously already put land around it. So what's this? And it's all red brick. They were trying to hide that it was the same builders. And look what they're just putting in. They're just reeling in those pieces of shit that don't do nothing. See, I think they tried to cover it up. That might be some sort of, cement that they put over it and covered up all the bricks. Because you see bricks on the inside. Yeah, those sneaky fuckers. They really try to put one over on us. Here's the quick facts. See what kind of BS they're giving us. This is the longest serving U.S. coastal fortification, 1861 to 1947. Wow. What about that one out in the ocean? Originally sited 1,100 feet off the island of Key West to protect its harbor. Oh, okay. So what are they gonna protect? Like they gotta get super close to damaging the ships. Largest treasure of Civil War era guns and munitions. Yeah, because they threw it all in there. This is just a bunch of BS. I mean, to the victors go the spoils, and the winner writes history. So I mean, they just say whatever they want. Oh, it was never fired upon. Oh, look at that. And it's only surviving Civil War era distillation plant. What? They had a distillation plant back in the Civil War when they couldn't even get fresh water out to their troops? Come on now. Really? They had a Civil War era distillation plant. Oh my god, I'm so fucking mad at how they just lie to us. I don't know. Hey, maybe I'm gonna have to do that then. I'm gonna have to do some research and see when the first seawater distillation plant was ever invented. 1860s. We're about to find out. I mean, not right now, but you see what I mean. Like, I was just trying to look at that fort out in the ocean, and now I'm over here looking at a fort on the mainland. 54 acres. Construction began in 1845, right around the same in the 1850s. So they just built one, went right to another. Oh, look at that. Yellow fever, shortages of material, man, remoteness. Oh, remoteness. That is not remote compared to the other one. And hurricanes, yeah. So what's the excuse for the other one? If this one has hurricanes, what about the one in the middle of the ocean? That's what I'm saying, man. They just say whatever the hell they want. And, in school, I remember hearing about star forts. That's it. I just remember hearing about them. And of course, they tell us the same stuff that we're reading now. That's just what they do. They just reread things. So to me, I'm kind of thinking like, how do they get those bricks there? Like way out there. And like how many people was this for? So let's take a look at the history because I want to know what the first thing was. 1564, French Caroline established by that guy. Spanish forces take Fort Caroline. I'm like, okay, Fort Caroline, let's take a look. I'm interested. I start to see this little triangle over here. I'm like, what? On the right? And like, that's the first thing they built was a fort. I mean, that makes sense, right? It makes a lot of sense. The first thing you want to do is build a fort. But like that's probably covered. That grass is covering whatever is underneath. That's probably like brick or something underneath. I started getting interested, and then oh my god, I saw these photos. Look at that triangle in the middle of the water. Why would you build a fort in the water? I mean, okay, I can see why, because then it makes it harder to come in, right? Because you can't cross the water, and so it's only one way in, one way out. That makes sense. But we're talking about the 1500s. This is just impossible to do in the 1500s. Okay, I don't know. Is it impossible to do in the 1500s? I wasn't over here building forts in triangles. I mean, look at that. Like, it's not. That's just an artist's rendition of. But how did he get high enough to see that? You know what I mean? There's no like bridge there. And well, I see an outlet there where there would have been a bridge. So it's like, how did they? And then also the land. Come on now, did we find a triangle island, or did we make a triangle island? I can't even say it. But I don't care. Look at that, and you can see it's brick. It's brick in the ocean, or lake or river. And here we are, one of the first maps I found of it. Fluoride. They just called it fluoride. No wonder. No wonder Florida's so crazy. Used to call it fluoride. And I don't know if that's all the Carolinas and the entire East Coast, but it's gotta be, right? What about those big ass lakes there? Are those still there? So then it's like, what's the next thing? The next thing they built was a Baptist church. 300 years later, almost 300 years later, 280 something years later, they built the Bethel Baptist Church. Look pretty similar to things I've seen in St. Louis and Australia. I mean, of course, England and like every single European city. And you look at those openings that they filled with glass. This is the first building they built besides a star fort. Like what little tiny homes, I'm sure, right? Log cabins or whatever. So they came from log cabins to this and red brick. So now I'm just pissed off. I'm like, what the hell? That's 280 years and we came up like that? Like building red brick? So now let's just take a look and I mean, we're about to get into the population here, but that looks like that's got 1 million people already. Just crazy. All brick. That's weird. Maybe some of them painted brick. But all brick. What was up with brick? Did we have just brick manufacturing companies just pumping out? Because if they had to lay down 264 bricks every single hour to build that fort out in the middle of the ocean, they got some serious brick making capabilities back then. 1884. Bird's eye view. How did we get the bird's eye view? Was there balloons and an artist was just chilling up there and just like mapping all the roads? So horse and buggy, but yet got a bird's eye view. This just looks wrecked. You can see what we built compared to what's already there. I mean, we built these little tiny shacks down here on the bottom, and we're pretending to build all those bricks things. Look, I mean, compared to the people, look how massive all these buildings are already in the 1800s. And the population's so low everywhere. Looks like you can fit the entire population of Florida in that town at that time. 80,000? Easy. Just red brick. Red brick was the thing to do back then. Oh, how about that? Something flooded. Really shocking. It's kind of weird how high that house is compared to that tree in the water. We got a Tesla coil back there that literally, well, it could be a windmill, but hey, maybe windmills back then got turned in, or maybe they were Tesla coils that got turned into windmills. But I think windmills did pump water. Anyways, so we're looking at Orlando City. You saw that, right? 2,400 people. Oh, and it went down from 2,800 to 24. Did you see that? Huh. Here's Pensacola. 1885 bird's eye view, of course. Somehow. Oh my god. Panoramic view. There's a lot of boats there. Yeah, it looks like a lot of action. There's probably like well over 1,000 people just in the boats. Probably like 5,000. Oh my god! And look what we find. A freaking star fort in Pensacola. A lot of them are right off the water too. A lot of them, but not all of them. There's another star fort. Maybe they just blasted it away so they can hide it. But you see all those arches there. Those are the same builders that built all that other shit. All those arches. So let's see how many people live there. 11,000 and then jumped up to 17,000. I mean, there was like a couple thousand just in those boats. Now I've been to this town here, Iverness. There's a Walmart there now. It's like the biggest Walmart in Citrus County, and that's the county we're gonna check. This is one photo of downtown Inverness. And this is another photo in the 1800s of Inverness. Look at that huge castle thing back there. Okay, so you went from one to another, like brick, stone walkways, curbs. There were some like freaking. Russia didn't look that nice. That had dirt roads at the same time. See, Citrus County. This is so it said 1800s, but there was no record of anyone there prior to 1880. So, like, what's going on? Now here we are. I'm just really just I have to go back to the big building, to the Star Fort out there. I need to know how the hell they got the bricks there. We already know that there's not that many people in all of Florida at that time for the. So, like, how did they get all those bricks out there? And that got me into thinking about like the transportation. And so, look, there's a boat there, it looks like. That's awesome. Did they transport everything there by boat? I mean, they had to, right? They had to transport everything by boat. Well, how did they get all the brick? Because I don't think there's like hardcore brick manufacturers in Florida. If they were, just the major cities. So from what I researched, they got a lot of bricks from up north, and they needed a railway to come down. So I'm over here like looking at this, and I'm like, how could they get there? Is it shallow enough for something? And then I saw this road here. I've never heard of this until now. And then I started doing research on this highway that goes through the water. See? I scan out, I'm like, oh, snap. That goes for quite a while. That runs all the way up those little tiny islands. Like, do you have any idea how hard that would be to build? And why are they trying to connect all these little tiny shitty islands here? Like, I mean, it's survival of the fittest, right? So, why would people go out there and live there if they're going to get slammed by hurricanes all the time in a time when there was no electricity? You know what I mean? I mean, to get out there, what do they do? Have electricity towers to get out there? Like, seriously, you got to think about it. These towns, who built all these towns here along this and just filled it in in the 1800s? I tried looking for photos. That looks absolutely amazing. Look at those canals going into the backyards, and then boom. So, I mean, it's just, this highway is crazy. And what did these people build all this out here for back then? You know what I mean? I'm sure that most of these have been dug out in modern times, but I've tried to go and find photos of Key West prior to the 1850s, even a drawing or a painting. And every single picture I've ever found has this big ass highway in it. There's no other picture of Key West prior to the 1800s or 1850s that doesn't have this highway here. And it used to be something else, which we'll get into. I'm just kind of just showing you how crazy this highway is. And I'm really intrigued. And here is the railroad that was actually before that. The only reason why I found this is because I was researching the railroad that brought the bricks, the Florida East Coast Railway. And it was founded by Henry Flagler, who worked closely with John D. Rockefeller. How about that? Fucking Rockefeller over here, ruining America before it even started, really. I mean, okay, well, covering up what was already started. And he said he visited St. Augustine, but there wasn't very many services. This is what he stayed at, and he said that there wasn't a lot of services there available. Like, get the fuck out of here. This is the most services I've ever seen in a building. That's what that was, the 1800s at that time. I mean, then I started to get into him. I was like, who's this Henry Flagger guy? American tycoon from Cleveland or whatever. Did that Standard Oil thing. Blah, blah, blah. And this is how they surveyed for the railroad bridges in 1906. Yet there was footage prior to 1906 of railways going full steam. So what is that picture and when was it? This is how they traveled. I mean, just, oh my God. This is apparently the workers that went out there to go help build their railroad out in the middle of the ocean. This is what they did, how they did it. You can go through and try and find these photos or hit pause and go back if you want, but I do my best to try and confirm the official story. They got this railroad done so freaking fast. I mean, go through yourself. It's because he was going to die and we need to hurry up and finish. Okay, sure. And they also had to build another railroad for the railroad so they had to build two railroads to get to build one. Does that make any sense? That's what they said. They were like, we have to build two railroads in order to build one. I mean, was this just emulating what they found because it got messed up in a hurricane like throughout century or something? Or last year? I mean, the years before them, where they just had to cover the tracks of the previous civilization and rebuild? I think that's what happened. I mean, I think that's how they found it. Because this is a photo of a hurricane, like a famous 1906 hurricane, coincidentally. So I think they found all this shit like that. And they had to rebuild. This even says conversion of bridge from railroad to overseas highway. So they even converted what they built from one thing to another. And I tried to find photos without this. But you look up Key West and this is what you see. You always see this. The bridge already built. You never see a photo. I don't know. Maybe I have to find famous Florida artists. You know what I mean? And I have to go through their whole catalog to find paintings that they did back then. To find photos without this highway. But look at that, dude. That is structurally sound in the middle of the ocean. A bridge for a fucking train getting slammed by waves. I mean, I would not go on that train if it was raining and hurricane. That looked like a freaking hurricane. I mean, I'm just at a loss for words here. Like, did we really build this? If anybody sees this that has knowledge, please share it in any comment or something. But this already looks super old. They're building another track. Or a track was already built, and they're like, well, we gotta build another track here because these people are gonna see this. So we gotta lie, and we gotta tell them that we built this. And so, anyways, well, you be the judge. I just showed you some pictures and gave you my thought. So, if you like these long format style where it has the real view and then also the real pictures, let me know. But I kind of like it. I mean, it took a couple weeks to make this. The next one, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But I do appreciate your time, and I appreciate your thoughts. If you have any, please share them. I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm just telling you, something doesn't add up. So, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. I'm just kind of showing you everything that I found. I'd like to believe that we made it, but I also like to believe that this was already there, before Christopher Columbus. So, tell me what you think. Once again, I appreciate it. Like this and share it with the other community in the Mudflood. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.